Mbappe and Dembele lift France to the World Cup semis. Meanwhile, sorry England fans, Quansah won't receive the Balogun treatment. The FBI are coming for Argentina. And some bombshell transfer news in the last 24 hours. This is DMAC Daily. Guys, I know the entire world has turned on Argentina right now, but I think we have a much more serious problem on our hands in the French national team in 2026, because it's literally becoming men against boys out there every time they play. Okay, 2-0 today isn't exactly a drumming, but I don't think any other team on earth could make Morocco look that bang average, especially when you consider just how impressive the African Giants had been all tournament leading into today, particularly against the big teams. They pretty much outplayed Brazil and the Netherlands previously, such a terrifying proposition with their technically gifted forward line and their ultra composed midfield trio behind of Onahi, El Ainawi, and Bouadi. This was a serious team, guys. But then again, ultimately so are France, champions in 2018, finalists in 2022, but this 2026 team on paper was on another level. And the scariest part is that unlike many big teams who often struggle to integrate all their stars, this team's chemistry is outrageously good. They'd already convincingly won every game prior to today. Ironically, their toughest test had been a resilient Paraguay side who managed to hold the French at bay for longer than anyone else, but still realistically stood no chance. And today, we would witness another footballing clinic. Unfortunately for Morocco, their star forward and top scorer this tournament, Saibari, was ruled out of the match. But I'm not sure if it would have really mattered, to be honest, because France were in full control from the very first kick of the ball. Mbappe with an early test at 3 minutes in, and from the corner that followed, Dembele found Upamecano, who in all honesty should have buried that chance. 24 minutes in, and Mbappe came up with a big play. Isolated in that left channel, he stood up Mizraoui and baited him in for the foul inside the box. Very clever from the Madrid man. That explosive burst of pace is still borderline unplayable. So typical World Cup Mbappe to orchestrate that contact, but not so typical of a finish from the Frenchman. Bonu guessed the right way, and it was such a poorly struck pen that he didn't even have to palm it away. But the relentless machine of France kept on pushing. Doué testing Bonu once more. Dean hitting the bar from 30 yards out. It finished 0-0 at halftime, but it was total domination. Morocco created literally nothing. They were surprisingly overwhelmed in the middle of the park. Kone and Rabiot dictated the pace, so organized all across the pitch. A goal was inevitable in the second half, and cometh the hour, literally cometh the man, Kylian Mbappe, turning nothing into something. A moment of pure genius from France's talisman. The way he sets himself, shimmies before shooting, then striking with such pinpoint accuracy to the back stick. Nothing Bonu could do to stop that one. It's a goal that just shows how mentally strong Mbappe is, right? Because that penalty miss could have gotten to his head. It could have ruined his day, to be honest. But this man on the World Cup stage isn't one to shy away, so he now draws level with Messi with 8 goals this tournament. He's 20th in 20 World Cup games. Man, it feels like a lifetime ago that Miroslav Klose was the World Cup goal-scoring king. 2026 has probably been a tough year for the German, but that Mbappe goal changed the trajectory of the game. Morocco had no answers for this free-flowing forward line, and it would be another superstar's turn to capture the limelight as Dembele picked up the ball in space. He shifts it onto his right foot from outside the box and finesses it past Bonu in goal. He'll be disappointed that he didn't get a stronger left hand there, but it's still a classy strike. What terrified me more than the goal was honestly the celebration, because when you think of a Ballon d'Or winner, individuality springs to mind. But what does Dembele do after scoring a pivotal World Cup goal? He runs straight to the bench to celebrate with his teammates. Beyond the star-studded ensemble of players in their prime, what I find scariest is the unity within this squad. They're not playing for themselves. There's no egos here. Everyone has the same goal, which is why Kone comes into the side, their third-choice midfielder, and completely bosses it. Same with fourth-choice centre mid Zaire Emery off the bench. Barcola also comes on and immediately brings something to the table. Mateta came close to scoring twice too. I don't mean any disrespect to Moroccan fans, but today was light work against an otherwise top team. Another aspect of France that I don't think is being talked about enough here is the defensive prowess of this team. Bar a chance from range, Magnon's goal was barely tested all game, 0.14 xG today, against a side that scored 10 in their previous 5 World Cup matches. France have now kept 3 straight clean sheets in knockout stage games. This team is just as complete defensively as they are going forward. And for me personally, I don't think there's a better centre-back on this planet than Saliba. This guy's a freak athlete who's as composed as it gets. He's dominant in the air. He doesn't really have a weakness to his game. But then again, he's just one member of that impressive back four. The fullbacks have also been incredible. Like, serious question. Does this France team actually have a weakness? Because I can't really say a bad word about any individual or any area of the pitch. Maybe Elise wasn't at his scintillating best today, but he was still fantastic. Like, they haven't won anything yet, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But if they do go on to win the World Cup with their stars all maintaining their ridiculous output, then this team will be talked about for decades to come because it really is that good. As for Morocco, yes, they achieved less than 2022 technically, but I maintain the belief that this is a better team in terms of actual ability. I think the loss of Riyad at centre back and Saibari up top were big today, and I think after that Netherlands game, they just looked a little fatigued at times. That being said, still a great tournament. The future of football in this country is very bright. They are the benchmark in Africa. Australia, take notes. Staying in World Cup news, and England have been dealt a huge blow ahead of their quarterfinal against Norway, with FIFA confirming Jarell Quansah will serve a 2-match suspension following his red card against Mexico. This means the Leverkusen defender won't just miss the quarterfinal v Norway, but would also be unavailable for a potential semi-final too, further stretching Tuchel's already depleted defensive options after injuries to Livramento and Reece James. Now, at face value, the punishment itself is difficult to argue against, right? Quansah's challenge on Gallardo was reckless, it was dangerous, and comfortably met the threshold for a straight red card. So there are very few complaints about the sanction itself, but the controversy here lies entirely in the consistency of the ruling or lack thereof, because the English FA spent the last 72 hours making the case to FIFA, not that Quansah was innocent of wrongdoing, but questioning the process that led to the dismissal itself. Their concern centered on the VAR review, with officials believing the referee was initially presented with a freeze frame before watching the incident in motion, despite IFAB guidance stating that reviews should primarily begin with footage shown at normal speed. The FA hoped those procedural concerns could at least be considered to lesser the punishment, but they weren't considered. FIFA confirmed the 2-game suspension, and because there is no mechanism to appeal either the red card or the disciplinary sanction at this tournament, England's case effectively ended there. However, FIFA itself ensured that wasn't really possible through its handling of the Balogun case just days earlier. As we all know, after Balogun's red card against Bosnia and Herzegovina, FIFA took the extraordinary step of suspending his mandatory ban for a 1-year probation period, allowing him to then face Belgium. You see, many people who argued in favor of the Balogun Red being overturned believed that, well, I think it was the wrong call in the first place, so it's a good thing it was overturned. But that's not what actually happened. The dismissal itself was never overturned, nor were the tournament regulations rewritten. Instead, FIFA simply bent its own rulebook to suspend the punishment. That decision has now become the benchmark by which every subsequent disciplinary case is now judged. So England's gripe here isn't necessarily that Quansah received a 2-game suspension, it's that FIFA has offered no clear explanation as to why Balogun's punishment could be suspended while Quansah's couldn't, particularly when both cases involved procedural concerns surrounding the VAR review. The situation became even more politically charged after Donald Trump publicly confirmed he called Infantino to get this red card overturned, creating those ridiculous optics that FIFA has struggled to shake ever since. The knock-on effects are already becoming obvious. France unsuccessfully challenged Elise's booking, Belgium questioned Balogun's eligibility, England challenged Quansah's disciplinary process, and every federation is now searching for their own precedents because FIFA has blurred the lines of its own freaking rulebook. Just a shambles of a situation. But yeah, sorry to say, England, you're just gonna have to play with Jed Spence. I know Tuchel doesn't want to, but unless James is fit, he's probably not gonna have a choice. Staying on the subject of international news, and just when you thought Argentina's PR on the global stage couldn't have sunk any lower, it's now been confirmed that the FBI are actively launching an investigation into the Argentine Football Association for money laundering. Bro, it is so over for Argentina's reputation. If they benefit from another contentious VAR call, World War III might actually kick off. Now, to be clear, nobody from the AFA has actually been charged with a crime, and the investigation remains at an early stage, but the allegations being examined are really serious, with FBI agents and federal prosecutors reportedly scrutinizing more than $300 million that passed through the United States financial system as part of the Federation's international commercial operation. Now, at the center of the investigation is a Florida-based company that acted as a collection agent for several of the AFA's overseas contracts. That reportedly included major sponsorship and broadcasting payments from companies such as Adidas and Warner, with investigators attempting to establish where that money ultimately went and whether any transactions constituted money laundering, bank fraud, or other financial offenses. The authorities are also reportedly examining the conduct of AFA President Claudio Tapia and the Federation's relationship with that company, while investigators are said to be tracing payments through several major American banks. Some reports claim tens of millions of dollars were distributed to companies and individuals without an obvious connection to AFA's football operation. Again, these remain allegations rather than established facts, but this is hardly the first scandal to emerge from the AFA's administration. Its headquarters and several Argentine clubs were previously raided during a separate domestic money laundering investigation, while Tapia and other senior officials have faced scrutiny over alleged tax irregularities and unexplained financial arrangements. The timing of this couldn't be worse, right? Argentina are attempting to defend their World Cup title while already facing enormous hostility following the refereeing controversy surrounding their win over Egypt just a couple days ago. Just to confirm, no member of the Argentine national team has any direct connection to the FBI investigation. Like, to all the Messi haters out there, just chill out a bit. He ain't getting arrested on the pitch anytime soon. But reputationally, as I said, everything is now becoming part of the same toxic conversation surrounding Argentina's football team. Obviously, the players will remain focused on the football itself, but the institution surrounding them is facing serious questions that cannot be just dismissed as rival bitterness or World Cup tribalism. Sporting success has protected Tapia's administration from serious public backlash for years. A significant FBI investigation, however, represents a very different level of threat. Just a messy situation all around. I'm sorry, that wasn't even funny. Okay, we switch gears to transfer news now, guys, and a lot has gone down in the last 24 to 48 hours. If you're not aware at this point, I am in fact a Chelsea fan. I know it's a bit of an ick, but I've obviously got to start with them first. And the news that Andre Santos is on his way to Manchester United in a £50 million transfer. We all know United are looking to overhaul their midfield this summer. There's an active deal with Atalanta midfielder Ederson for 45 mil, which is subject to a medical. They missed out on Elliot Anderson because he was too expensive, and then got financially outmuscled by Spurs of all clubs with the deals of Fernandes and Tonali. So they've since pivoted to the Chelsea man, who has agreed to leave in search of more regular game time. Having smashed it on loan at Strasbourg, he went on to make 43 appearances last season for Chelsea. However, only 26 of those were starts. Having also missed out on the World Cup, and with no guarantee he's going to be a key player under Alonso, the rationale from Santos is that a move may be beneficial for his career. And from Chelsea's board's perspective, he's worth letting go for 50 mil, having only been bought for 12.5 mil 2 years prior. Now, the reaction from the Chelsea fan base has been a little mixed. Some suggest it's decent money to receive for a squad player who hasn't set the Premier League on fire, but my perspective is entirely different. To me, this sale is everything wrong with the club. For starters, selling to a direct rival. Why are we strengthening Manchester United? Okay, 50 mil is a decent figure, but in the hyperinflated market of 2026, who are we going to replace him in central midfield with? Santos was 22 years old and had tremendous room for growth. Chelsea are more concerned with flipping players for profit as opposed to competing for titles and building something. All the while, the club is shifting their attention to a 34-year-old who probably won't be able to leave Sunderland. Another thing to consider is that Xabi Alonso historically likes to play in a double pivot in midfield, and in that scenario, Santos is our second best option behind Caicedo, because Enzo Fernandez can't play in a double pivot. That doesn't work. Asugo and Lavia are a myth. Barco, I'm not sure is ready to start in central midfield. Okay, Santos hasn't been unbelievable, but there's so much more deadwood at this club that should be shown the exit door first. Side note, great to hear that Garnacho may be on his way out. At least that's a positive, but I don't like this Santos exit at all. From United's perspective, I think you've got yourself a good player. A versatile option, he can play as a 6 or an 8. He's got a high ceiling too, in my opinion. Speaking of Brazilian central midfielders, and Bruno Guimaraes has informed Newcastle of his wish to leave for Premier League champions Arsenal. My goodness, this Newcastle side has been completely picked apart. Last season it was Isak, and this window we've already seen Tonali and Gordon depart, with their Brazilian star now next in line. Now Guimaraes does still have a contract valid until 2028, so I guess Newcastle have some leverage there. However, it appears very much the case that his departure is inevitable. David Ornstein is reporting that Arsenal are willing to fork out £60 million for the 28-year-old. To be honest, if Newcastle agree to this, I think they're drastically underselling here, because how are they going to replace him for a similar fee? Like, this is one of the Premier League's best midfielders, and you're allowing him to go to the best team in the league for just 60 mil? Remember, that ball-winning, all-action centre mid profile is particularly expensive. I know Anderson is English and a lot younger than Guimaraes, but you think he's worth 2 times that of the Brazilian? If I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm honestly crashing out, because you just can't stop taking L's. I guess on a more positive note, hey, at least some of the new recruits look exciting. Bazumana Toure looks a decent player. You've landed one of Ajax's premium talents in 18-year-old Sean Sturr. And if you can get Manzambi to St. James's Park, which is looking increasingly likely, then fair play. That'd be an impressive signing, but still, Guimaraes is a huge loss. Meanwhile, Barca are gunning for another winger in Dortmund's Karim Adeyemi. I think Barca are going down the PSG route with this fluid front line as opposed to perhaps an out-and-out number 9. Now, the Catalans have offered 20 mil for the German, with Dortmund rejecting. Dortmund are reportedly holding out for 40 mil, but with his contract expiring in 2027, I doubt they'll be able to sell for that much. I have a feeling this is only the beginning with that deal, so more on that in the future. Now for some quick-fire transfer updates to close out the show. And Atletico Madrid, having already landed Lee Kang-in and Grimaldo, will now see Sporting's Morten Hjulman join in a €45 million deal. Carl Darlow is headed to Old Trafford as Manchester United's new number 2 on a free transfer. Crystal Palace signed former Barca and recent Celta fullback Oscar Mingueza as their first signing of the summer. And Aussie rising star and former Sydney FC midfielder Paul Ocon-Engsler is on his way to Europe, joining Bundesliga club FC Köln for €1 million. Can't wait to see this lad's career unfold. He is a serious baller. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.